What's up? I don't know. I know I'm kind of late for this video talking about, of course, the stuff that I'll be talking about in this video. Mostly, of course, Saints got a new offense and defensive coordinator. Pretty sure it was last week or so. I think it was a couple days ago, some point last week. But they got a new offense and defensive coordinator. Be talking about that, and also a little bit of rumors for next year's draft, the 2026 draft, involving LSU's quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, and also involving the Saints, with, of course, the hire of our new offensive coordinator. That, of course, will be the stuff we will talk into this video. Welcome, everybody, to the BrewCrew channel. My name is Hayden Brewer. And make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So, like I started off in the intro of this video, of course, it was last week, I believe, we got both a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Let's start off with the defensive coordinator. Our new defensive coordinator, I did actually kind of say who it was in a previous video that I was talking about. Of course, he was planned to be the next defensive coordinator. That, of course, is former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley, a former head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers, and actually was on the same staff with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was his offensive coordinator. Now they kind of flipped roles, and definitely a lot of good things, of course, about Brandon Staley, about being a defensive-minded coordinator, really good defensive coordinator. Of course, he had the 1 year with Los Angeles with the Chargers that really didn't go well for him as a... I hate my neighborhood. Anyway, of course, it didn't go well with him being a head coach, so I don't know if any head coaching jobs are going to be going his way, because, of course, the one season, I believe it was one season, didn't really go his way. But he has definitely gotten praise from a lot of defensive players who were under him as a defense coordinator. Even him as a head coach, as a really good defensive coordinator. I mean, definitely, of course, the defense is a big thing. Of course, maybe with one position, that, of course, defensive back and cornerbacks. Of course, we've seen Alante Taylor be excited about it. Definitely really excited to see what he would probably have planned for him, as he definitely was one of the best players on our defense last year, and could definitely be one of the best players going into next season on our defense. I mean, with the defensive mind of Coach Staley. But there's also the one thing about the defensive backs is, like, of course, we're pretty thin at them right now, because, like, he's kind of going in mostly... There's still no word, really, if we're re-signing Paulson Adebo. So mostly you got Alante Taylor, and then you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, who would potentially become a starter, I believe, next season of sorts, a starter of sorts. So, I mean, this kind of goes back to what I've talked about before with the NFL draft. Of course, we have the Combine coming up. So probably one of the things you want to kind of look at for the Combine is cornerback, most importantly, Will Johnson, who's one of the top cornerbacks right now coming in to this draft class. So it's definitely what can he piece together, because, of course, he has veterans on this team like Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. And, of course, you have Pete Warner in the linebacker position. You have Brian Brzee coming into his third year, who's, I feel like, will have a breakout year, had a breakout year previous. It's still up and down. I haven't really seen anything about Chase Young, if he's going to be re-signed or if he's going to be let go, because we signed him for 1 year. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, because, like, defense was always kind of a weak point, especially this past year. Defense was a really big weak point for our team. I mean, yes, it was mostly because of injuries, but, like, you just got to find a way to work around it. And, like, there's definitely a lot of praise for Brandon Staley with, of course, how pretty good of a defensive coordinator he is. So definitely looking forward to that. Before we get into our offensive coordinator, there was some other big coaches that has kind of been hired under Kellen Moore. Definitely, of course, because coming into hiring Kellen Moore, we did not have any any coaches, like almost all of our position coaches were done. I think we promoted our special teams assistant coach to be the new special teams coordinator because of course we lost Darren Rizzi to the Broncos. But mostly some new coaches actually. Scott Tolzien will be our new QB coach. Joel Thomas actually comes back as our running back coach. Also coming back, I believe, is Nugent as our offensive line coach, and definitely excited about him because with him, we used to have like one of the best offensive lines, so definitely a lot of praise coming to him. And then, of course, we actually have a keep. Keith Williams will stay as our wide receiver coach. So that's just a couple of coaches that I've definitely seen. I've definitely written down right here of like some of the coaches that we hired, kept, and brought back really for our coaching staff under Kellen Moore. So definitely looking pretty good for our coaching staff. So that's definitely a good thing, especially going into this off season, especially continuing and going into this off season, in the summer especially. But then that brings us to our offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier. Now, yes, you hear the last name Nussmeier. This is the father, the dad of Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. He was the former Eagles QB coach, so now he reunites with Kellen Moore, this time as the offensive coordinator. And I've definitely have been hearing a couple things about definitely be interesting to see him as offensive coordinator because he has not really been too successful as an offensive coordinator, as most of the offenses that he has coached, they have not really been great. Yes, he's mostly coached college offenses, so we'll just have to see how he fares as a offensive coordinator in the NFL. But I feel good about it because he's coming in. The only like issue is like who is his quarterback? Who is the quarterback we are going to have for this? Excuse me, for this new system under this new offensive coordinator. Like, of course, you have Alvin Kamara, which of course there's stuff going around with him, with his Instagram story posts is like had that Instagram story post of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium. He takes it down. Then he has another post on his story saying, "What now, LOL?" So that's just kind of a whole nother thing. But you have a good running back room. I think we would still have Jamal Williams at this point, and you have a young Keandre Miller. Really, it's just quarterback and like of course wide receivers. You have Shaheed and Olave coming back, and you have a pretty good offensive line that just really needs to stay healthy. That's mostly like what this next season needs to be. It's just really we need a healthy offensive line. Of course, you have Taliasa Fuaga, whatever you say his last name, or whatever. You have him coming off of an amazing rookie year that he had. I mean, definitely the future does look bright for him with us, especially. But yeah, I mean, you really just need a healthy offensive line. You need to figure out who your quarterback's going to be. There is the rumors that I've seen that potentially we would be releasing Derek Carr, maybe cutting him or not. I mean, I've mostly just seen it because, like, they can't find a valuable trade asset, but I thought if I can remember correctly, he doesn't have the trade clause on his contract. So I don't know what that's all about, but it's looking like that. Still do not think that we need to draft a quarterback. So your best choice is probably Spencer Rattler or whatever you do with him and Jake Haener, or you can look into free agency. I know Justin Fields would potentially be coming a free agent, so you have him. Yes, you have Aaron Rodgers, but he's a 40-year-old veteran, so I don't know how you're going to really fare with him if you end up signing him, if that's going to be a good choice, if that's going to be a bad choice. If we do a free agent quarterback, I would rather Justin Fields over Aaron Rodgers if you do that. As much as I would love to probably see Spencer Rattler become a starter for next season, I would be okay if we ended up getting Justin Fields in free agency. I would definitely not be upset. But mostly speaking about quarterback, that actually leads into what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, was a little rumor going around, or a little bit of news happening already for one man, LSU's own quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, the son of course, of our new offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier, already receiving some high praises of potentially being a top level quarterback pick, because of course there's high hopes for him going into next season. There's like high hopes of him being a high draft pick. There's high hopes of him even being the Heisman winner. If he like he's number one right now in like the off season, preseason Heisman watch right now. So like there's a lot of hype going in for Garrett Nussmeier, and definitely excited for it. And I really wanted to see how it goes. But there's also leading into like potentially us getting him in that 2026 draft. Now, as much as I feel like that would be really amazing as an LSU fan and a Saints fan, I'm mostly looking at this as an NFL fan, really. And it's like, do we need him though? You know, because mostly I'm just seeing and hearing like, oh, we'll just draft him so he can be reunited with his dad. Okay, that's definitely fun, but like, do we need him? Will we need him at that point? Because like at that point next year, like we don't know how this next season will go. We don't know how 2026 will go. We don't know if like we have an amazing breakout year, we make the playoffs, and we get a draft spot to where we don't get Garrett, because Garrett might have an amazing season with LSU that he's a top 5, top 3 pick. So it's like either we take the risky move, even though we had a really good season, and like whoever we have at quarterback has a really good quarterback season for us. And it's like, why would we get Garrett Nussmeier? Not saying that Garrett Nussmeier should not be drafted. I feel like he would be very much better off with another team, not with us. Now, yes, he could be drafted, join his dad, be a part of his dad's offense, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure his dad was like his high school coach or something, was part of his high school. So like this is also kind of, I'm seeing this, but this is kind of mostly saying like with us having the number 9 overall pick, we probably would have picked him, but like that kind of goes to my point. Even if Garrett Nussmeier like did not stay for another year with LSU, and he declared for this draft, he probably would not have been the first quarterback, because he kept coming into this draft as the 5th best quarterback. He probably would have been like the 2nd or 3rd though, maybe, because like you have Cam Ward, who's projected to be a second pick, and then you have Shador, who's projected to be a top 10 pick, but not really a top 5. So like that would have been the same thing for Garrett. But that kind of also goes to my other point that I talked about with the Saints, is like I don't think we need to draft a quarterback in the first round, because you have a pretty good quarterback in Spencer Rattler, and you have the free agency. But that is mostly, of course, what would help with potentially releasing Derek Carr, is it helps with your money that you can look at free agency and try to find some key players like a quarterback in free agency. So that's just my opinion. I really don't see us getting Garrett Nussmeier if we end up even having if we have a terrible season to get the number 1 overall pick, then by all means get him. But that also just depends on how his season goes, because like he might not end up living up to the hype. He might be having the same type of season he had with us this past year in his junior year, and still be maybe be the 3rd or 2nd quarterback off. Still be a first round pick maybe, but like not number 1 overall pick potential, really. Like he'll have the potential of being a first round quarterback, just not the potential of being the number 1 overall quarterback. So there's just a lot going on right now with, of course, us having Doug Nussmeier as our offensive coordinator, and of course Garrett Nussmeier going into next year's draft already, that we're getting into talks about next year's draft of Garrett Nussmeier being the first quarterback off of the draft, really, going in the next year, and him potentially coming to New Orleans to play with his dad. But it's like, do we need him? That's mostly the big question, is do we need him? So who knows? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know, of course, it wasn't too much that I had talking about, but definitely excited to see how the rest of this offseason goes. Of course, we have the Combine coming up on Thursday, I believe it is, so definitely looking forward to see to see that, how that goes. But again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, definitely hit the notification bell so you can be updated for future videos. And with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.